So, this video will be posted on July 10th at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. This video is called For and While Loops. Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Now, last week we looked at if-else statements, but today we're gonna be looking at something completely different. We're gonna be looking at the concept of loops. So I'm gonna create a new file called loops.cpp. Boom. I'm gonna add the first two lines. You should always add, and I'm gonna create a main function. Perfect. What is a while loop? Well, a while loop is kind of like an if statement, but it loops back around a certain number of times until said condition is false. Let's do a simple one. Let's create an int with a value of x which equals the value of 1. Okay, I'm gonna be using this new word called while. Okay, and I'm going to say while x is less than 10. So while this condition is true, do this. Do what's in the block of code, the while block, and then check this condition again. If it's true, do it again. Do it until this condition, x is less than 10, is false. What do I want to do? Well, let's actually output a saying adding 1 to x. And then let's actually add 1 to x. Now I'm gonna teach you a way you can increment x by 1. This plus plus right here. This notation says, hey, take the value of x and increment its value by 1. You're gonna be using this a lot. Actually, you'll be using this while looking at for loops, which we will be talking about later on in this video. But for now, let's see what the value of x is after we exit the while loop. Cout x end line. Now be aware, we will see this cout numerous amounts of times up until this condition is no longer true. But we will only see this cout once because it is out of the while loop and not in a while loop. So let's run our program, g++ loops, and let's run it. We have adding 1 to x several times up until the value of x is outputted, 10, which, of course, we should have got. let's go back into our program because I want to talk to you about an error we have with while loops. When we have a while loop, that condition is always true. It runs an infinite while loop. Let's say that x is equal to 1, and while x is greater than 0, keep adding the value of x. But wait, x will never be less than 0. So, if we run it, I apologize. It's creating what we call an infinite while loop. To get out of this infinite while loop, simply hit Control C. And that will exit us out of the while loop. Scroll up and down to your left and right to see how fast our program was running. It was running very fast as I am scrolling up really fast. So it was doing a good, I'd say 100 to 1,000 addings per millisecond maybe. So we know that coding can run very quickly, but in no circumstances do you want an infinite while loop to run in your program. So if something like this happens, check your while loop condition and make sure it can be false at one statement. Okay? Because if it can be false, that means that the program will run as usual. Let's go back into our program to fix this. What if we put x is less than or equal to 10? Predict what the outcoming value of x will be. You got it? Let's check. 11. Why is it 11 though? Well, that's because in the condition when x is equal to 10, this statement is true because x is less than or equal to 10. So this statement is true. Therefore, we can add 1 to x when x is 10. So that means that x is now 11 going out of this loop. Going into the next loop, x is equal to 11, which makes this condition false. Now let's look at for loops. And to do that, we'll need a variable, another variable. Let's create another variable, an integer. Let's have it be I, and let's have it be set to 0. The structure of for loops is a little complicated, so let me write out the structure, and then I'll explain what it is and how it works. Okay. So there are three aspects to the for loop function that needs to be in condition. First of all is the initializer. We need to initialize a variable to a value, let's say 0. Next, we need to describe a condition in which it's applying. So in this case, I is less than 10. This is the condition in which we are testing it for. The third one is one we saw before. And this one basically describes the premise of what a for loop is. After the body of a for loop is done, it will perform this action. In this case, it'll increment I by 1 right here. And then it will check the condition here to see if it's true. If it is true, we will run the for loop again. We would do this repeatedly until this condition is in fact false. So in this condition, I want to increment x by 1. Notice I'm not in the body of the for loop, I'm not incrementing I by 1 because I'm doing it right here. This can get a little confusing. So let's backtrack here. We're initializing I to be 0, to have the value of 0. We're assigning 0 to the variable I. We've then created a condition in which the value I has to pass. If it does pass, run the body of the for loop, or the block of the for loop, and then increment the value of I by 1. If it doesn't pass, move on. So here's what I want to do now. I want to output the value of x. Predict what the new value of x will be using this for loop. Remember, I has to be less than 10 and I has been initialized to the value of 0. Let's run the program and see what we get. Oops. I apologize, I messed up a bit here. We have the value of 11. Here's why. We have a value of x right here, 1. We have this condition I is equal to 0. Assignment, I'm sorry. And then we have this condition I is less than 10. This for loop will run 10 times because the value I will go through each integer 0 through 9. 10 numbers. Those 10 numbers: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then when it reaches 10, this will be false. And so the value of x will be outputted. So that's my spiel on for loops and while loops and just loops in general. Thank you so much for watching. I believe tomorrow you will be getting another project or big challenge. Please feel free to ask any questions. If any of this loop stuff is confusing, I know when I learned it first it was very confusing, so please feel free, don't hesitate to ask questions, and don't be scared. Thank you so much and have a great day.